Well, good evening, everybody. Once again, it's Bobby Harvey broadcasting live in downtown Ottumwa, Iowa, where we are waiting for Amtrak's westbound California Zephyr passenger train to make its stop here in downtown Ottumwa. So once again, welcome to the stream. It's just about 6:40 p.m. The train's running a little late tonight. About 25 minutes late or so. So the estimated arrival time into Ottumwa, when they make up time from Mount Pleasant, last time I checked, is going to be around 7:12, somewhere in there. So we are here on the station platform, and you might remember from the last stream that I did a couple weeks ago, there were some BNSF trains in the area that I wanted to get, but I was worried that Amtrak would come in and block our view of the BNSF trains, and so I moved down the platform. Well, tonight I decided to go ahead and start the stream from this point because it's actually a pretty good vantage point for getting pictures. You get to see the train sitting in the station with the engine and everything in the background, and then you get to kind of pan and watch the train depart. And we were also in a pretty good place to get any BNSF trains. If Amtrak's in the station, we are far enough down the platform and we'll be able to see any BNSF trains going by on Main 2, and Amtrak will not block us from seeing those trains. And this is, I was going to start the stream underneath the platforms like I've been most of this year, because the train was late and the sun is going down earlier and earlier now. So I was afraid that by the time Amtrak got in, it'd be too dark to be out here, but I think we might still be okay. But the clincher that made me come down here tonight for sure was that there is an eastbound BNSF train on its way, and it has the exact same SD40-2 locomotive that we saw on the train a couple weeks ago going east with BNSF's local freight. Whoa, Mark's got a super chat. Thank you very much, Mark. And you are very welcome. I really enjoy these streams. Thank you for your support. It means a lot. Thank you very much. I have a few of you in here so far. We'll try and keep up with the live chat as we wait for trains. Like I said, obviously Amtrak will be coming shortly, but there's also an eastbound BNSF train coming, and I'm pretty sure it is the local train 664, just like the one we saw a couple weeks ago. And it has the exact same locomotive on the front, BNSF 1775, the SD40-2 that we saw on the train a couple weeks ago. So I want to get another good picture of that train. So we're down here on the end of the platform. So if that train comes by when Amtrak is in the station, and it's a high possibility that it might, we'll be able to see it go through. Excuse me. Just kind of getting over kind of a cold had for, a week or so. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, for those that didn't catch the past couple of streams, didn't do a live stream last weekend, and that is because me and the family were in Branson last weekend, and got to ride the Branson Scenic Railway. It was the second time I've ever got to do that, and it was a really good ride, and got to ride behind two of the Branson Scenic Railway's latest power. There's snoot-nosed SD40-2 on one end, and their other new engine on the other end. I don't remember what type of engine that was. If it's a GP38 or a GP20 or 30, something along those lines. It was on the south end of the train, and the SD40-2 pulled us north. We went north of Branson on the railway, just like we did the last time we rode last year, which is not as scenic of a ride going north, but there's still a tunnel, and there's still a lot of interesting points of interest along the way. So it was still a fun ride. It's a really great train ride. Excuse me. And the train itself is really the highlight of the ride. I mean, the scenery's nice, and I'm pretty sure the scenery south is a lot more scenic than the northern leg. But really the star of the ride is the train itself. You get rolling and you're going probably, I like to say, maybe 25 miles an hour the whole time. So it's not really fast, but it's still a decent clip. And my favorite part of the ride is walking up and down the train and going through all the different cars and seeing, the different types of cars and their different, interiors and decor, and just seeing all the different types of configurations on the cars. And they're all a little different, but they're all streamlined cars from different railroads. A lot of them are from the Burlington route. Some of them ran on the Zephyr trains. They have several dome cars, as well as a few dining cars and some coach cars. A lot of different neat old streamlined cars on those trains. So got to walk the train a couple of times and popped up in the dome car for a little while to check out the view. Got some pretty decent video clips up there. And that was the extent of the train excitement in Branson. When we got off the train, a freight train went through going north. We did some other things in Branson as well. We did the Hollywood Wax Museum, went to the Butterfly Palace, which was really cool. Mini golf, which they have several different mini golf options in Branson. And as well as there's a mirror maze also on the edge of the Hollywood Wax Museum that we did as well. Lots of different things to see and drive around and just look at places. And we're only there for a couple full days, along with driving down and back. And you can only scratch the surface of all of the things that are in Branson. It's incredible. But definitely, my favorite part was the train ride. And it definitely was the most leisurely thing that we did. Just kind of lay back and just enjoy the scenery. Be on an old streamlined train, which was really cool. So that's where we were last weekend. That's why I didn't do a live stream last weekend. But here we are in the first weekend of fall, believe it or not. And excuse me. It's actually been very warm for fall. Not really humid necessarily, but still fairly warm. Lower to mid 80s for the highs. It gets cooler at night, but we really haven't set into fall-like weather, except for that one weekend. I think it was the weekend after Old Threshers, maybe, where it got really chilly and it was really like fall. But since then, it's been summer-like. That's usually how it goes. Fall hits, you might have a few more weeks of summer-like weather, and then eventually it'll adjust and get cooler. So we really haven't gotten into it feeling like fall yet. The autumnal equinox was on the 22nd, which is just a few days ago. So we're into fall, and fall is my favorite season of the year. And October, November, and December are my 3 favorite months out of the year. And each one gets better. I mean, October, you got Halloween, November, Thanksgiving, December, Christmas. Christmas is my favorite holiday. Thanksgiving is my second favorite holiday. Halloween is my third favorite holiday. So it's just like you're leading up to the best time of year, beginning in October. And Halloween is a pretty good holiday to start things out with. Another indicator of fall is what we've got flying overhead just now. Although these geese probably do not actually migrate. We have a lot of them that stick around Ottumwa all the time, but there they are. Of course, if you're out in the country, you'll see a lot of flocks of geese that actually migrate, heading south for the winter. Of course, for the Canada geese, a lot of them that actually live in Canada, I mean, this is the South. They actually fly here for the winter because it's cooler. I mean, it's warmer than it would be in Canada in the wintertime. So currently down here, here's the situation. We have the signals to the east are lit, and they are at stop right now. They're all red. The westbound signals are currently dark. But I do know that there is, I mean, obviously we've got Amtrak coming, and we've got an eastbound freight train as well. I don't know what else is going on, but and right before I started the stream, a northbound CPKC train went up across the BNSF and up Rutledge Hill behind us. Now, if there are anybody that follow baseball, a pretty exciting thing happened today. If there are any Cub fans watching, the Chicago Cubs actually clinched a really good spot in the postseason. They got the wild card spot in the postseason, and they're actually going to host all 3 games at Wrigley Field against the San Diego Padres beginning on Tuesday. The past 2 games they won in really dramatic fashion against the St. Louis Cardinals, which is always a good thing. I am a Cub fan, obviously, so my apologies to any Cardinal fans that might be watching, and Ottumwa is kind of a divided region. There are just as many Cardinal fans here as there are Cubs fans. So it's always nice to get in kind of a debate and rivalry over who's better. It's always exciting when the Cubs are playing the Cardinals and vice versa. But the Cubs have already won the series. They won 2 out of 3, and now tomorrow's game, since they've already clinched the home and field advantage for the wild card, it's really just kind of a game. I mean, probably a lot of the players are going to take the day off, and they're just going to rest up for Tuesday's game. Really nice to see the Cubs in the postseason again. Mark's a Cardinals fan. Well, but he says go Cubs, so thank you. The season should be postseason should be interesting. Of course, no season can compare so far to 2016 when they went all the way and won the World Series. The next year, they got as far as the championship series, and then I think they might have gone again in 2018, but they didn't get very far.
Go ahead.
And,
yeah, we are just picking up the motor you said out of
and 2019, I think they almost got to the postseason, but then the Cardinals knocked them out of contention just right at the end of the season, if I remember right.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware of, just picking up the motor, not the Cardinals.
And then I guess, I don't really remember, but I guess they went to the postseason in 2020 also, the shortened season in 2020. I don't remember that. But, of course, the 2020 season was pretty forgettable. I mean, it was only like 60 games. It was like half the amount of games that they usually play. And I guess the Cubs went to the postseason, but they didn't get very far. It's the first time they've gone since then, so it's been 5 years. So hopefully they can play well against the Padres and get deep into the postseason. Who knows what'll happen? They get one series at a time. Okay, so for those of you still here, we were waiting on Amtrak, and they are probably getting close by now. It is 6:57, probably another 10 minutes or so, and they'll be showing up. They are running a little late, so I'm wondering if that freight train, if 664, the eastbound local train, will get to us first, which is why I'm down here at the end of the platform. So we're going to go ahead and pan to the west and show you guys what we can see from this vantage point west. And we're kind of in the middle of some of these signs, And this is actually kind of this is part of the new platform they have down here. And this area here actually is a gate that swings out. Obviously, they kind of frown on you going around that gate or off the platform. Although, years past, I used to do it all the time to get kind of a wider view of the train as they left. But you really don't have to leave the platform to get good pictures of the westbound. Especially with the train being shorter. Usually the engines don't go past the platform. And if they did, if you stood over there, I mean, they probably wouldn't have any problem with it. You know, just the typical, you know, try and stay, you know, 25 feet back away from the tracks. We'll zoom in here a little bit, and this is our view looking west. That's the Gateway Drive crossing, and the next one down is McLean Street, and out of view down there, you can kind of see it, are the crossing signals for Clay Street. And past that is a set of signals, which I don't know if you can really see them because they're not lit. Yeah, you can kind of see them down there. Those are the signals guarding the diamond with CPKC, which is the old Milwaukee main line. Gone through many hands over the years. It was originally Milwaukee, then it became Sioux Line, then I&M Rail Link, Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern, then Canadian Pacific, and now CPKC. And it's actually a pretty important line in the CPKC system. It is the line that connects the Canadian Pacific system and the Kansas City Southern systems together. So it's a pretty important piece of railroad. Whoa. Hello. A buzzard flying over. Man. I think that's what that is. It's always interesting seeing all the animals that hang out around the station. You actually see quite a bit. My favorite are the groundhogs, which we haven't seen those in a while. But you'll also see rabbits, birds, a little of everything. Now, for whatever reason, there are birds called killdeers, and they like nesting on the ground, and they will actually nest. I have actually seen several killdeer nests right along the roadbed by the railroad tracks, and the killdeer will have eggs in these nests on the ground, and they will actually like kind of charge you if you get close to them. Haven't seen any this year though. So I don't know which train will be first. Will it be the local or will it be Amtrak? We will have to see. At this point, it's 7:01, and we'll have to see. We've been going for about 20 minutes now, and the local cleared up from the Cargill Spur pretty much right before I started filming. And I'd like to think it doesn't take that long to get from there to here. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we see them showing up here before long. But the signal for eastbound movements down there is still red, so maybe they don't have them lined yet. Maybe they're gonna let Amtrak come in first and then let them go. But as you can see, it is past 7 o'clock and the sun has set. The sunset for today, I think, was 6:57. It's amazing how much sooner the sun goes down now that it's fall. And at Old Threshers, which was, you know, barely even a month ago, the sun was setting a lot earlier. It was still, you almost got a whole nother hour of daylight, give or take. Now, I guess technically about 30 minutes because the sun sets a little sooner, about a minute per day, until you get to the winter solstice, where you get the shortest amount of daylight, and then it starts getting longer again until the summer solstice. And I don't know if we can see it up here, but we have a crescent moon. There it is. It's a little bigger than it was last night, or the night before. Up over the platform. It is a very nice night, weather-wise. Very quiet, little to no breeze. And of course, once the sun goes down, any humidity that was in the air just kind of disappears. With it being fall, it starts to get cool once the sun goes down. Now, this is a really good scene. Hopefully Amtrak comes in and we still have enough light to get it right here. The signals to the west, which Amtrak will be going towards, are still dark. The signals to the east, I don't know if you can see them down there. The conductor and engineer, I think, are on the platform already for Amtrak. You can see it down there. It's still red. So I don't know what their plan is for the local. If they're holding it for Amtrak or what the deal is. Maybe they're crossing it over and having them come in on 2 before Ottumwa, because I know there is another crossover west of town now. But I think that might be a crossover going east from main 2 to 1, so they might have to come down here anyways. Let's see what the dispatcher's talking about. It's BNSF.
Yes, sir, go ahead, over.
Just hear one side of the conversation.
Okay, I'll switch the line lock for main 1 movement between CP 2888 and Maxon, and you're headed east soon, is that correct? All right, roger that. You will be meeting Amtrak there at CP 2833, over.
Okay.
Thank you. DS44 up.
Meeting Amtrak at 2833. So, let's see, 293. So it sounds like they are holding the local there. So Amtrak will be first. And I don't know if you guys can see it. We're going to go ahead and pan down here. We've got a pretty interesting signal aspect. Now you can't see it from here. Or maybe you can. Might move the camera a little bit just to show you guys. There we go. Since Amtrak's going to be the next train, I might just go ahead and leave it here. Level it up, and we'll show you guys what the signal looks like down there. As you can see, the track that Amtrak is going to be on is the track that we are closest to. That's main 1. And you've got a yellow over green, which means diverging approach. Or advance approach, I think. I don't quite know what the terminology is. Diverging approach diverging. I think that's what it might be. Basically, it means that you're preparing yourself to go through a crossover, not right there, but the next set of signals. So it's just telling the engineer that the next signal you go by, you will be crossing tracks and to slow down to the appropriate speed for that crossover. Approach diverging, but since the second signal head is green, that means that it'll probably be a clear signal when they get to the diverging aspect at the crossover. That would be diverging clear, which would be red over green. That's kind of a new aspect to see down here, because that crossover that's further west of town at 283, milepost 283, I think the dispatcher said CP 2833. So that would be about 3 miles west of here, because milepost 280 is basically right at Gateway Drive, that crossing we see right in front of us. Before, that signal head for main 1 was just a single head because there wasn't a crossover further west. The other signal has been 2 heads because there is a 10-mile-an-hour crossover from this direction going from 2 to 1. And that is the crossover that the local uses a lot of times because they come out of Cargill and Eddyville on main 1 and then cross over to main 2 here and then go do their work in Ottumwa and continue east. So Amtrak is going to be the first train, and I'm going to try and leave the camera here and see if we can get a decent picture of Amtrak from this vantage point. I think we have enough light still. I will move back just a little bit though, because I don't want to be right up on the edge of everything. Just get better pictures if you're not right up to the line. I think we'll have plenty of light. So again, welcome folks. Not normal that we have this much of the stream going before a train gets here, but had a lot of good discussion so far. We'll go back through the chat. Nate was our first commenter, said hello. Mark's here. Thanks again, Mark, for that super chat. Eugene Clace, Brunswick Train Fan Farm Lover Videos is here. Welcome. Buddy is here. Good evening. Welcome. And James Simmons Video Productions, a Thomas fan, is here. And I do pay attention to some of the Thomas news and keep up with some of that, the fandom of Thomas and Friends. Thomas was one of the reasons why I got into trains years ago. Of course, the new Thomas isn't quite as good as the old. And I'll just leave it there. I could go on and on and on about how the original Thomas was better than the new one. But I think that's kind of what James is referencing. But compared to the Thomas they make now, the Hit Entertainment era was actually pretty good for the most part. Okay, well, our train, the California Zephyr, I believe, is now approaching. So we've got plenty of light to see the train as it rolls into town. The engineer is on the platform, along with the conductor, ready to get on the train. This is a crew change point for the train as it continues west. And we'll be able to see the crew change and the engines as they pull up right in front of us. California Zephyr, westbound, train 5, now rolling into the Ottumwa station at sunset. And we have arrived. The California Zephyr is here. As you can see, a little different consist tonight. There are 3 engines on the front of the train, which doesn't happen very much anymore. It's always kind of interesting to see that many engines on this train. And it's amazing what these new cameras can do on these iPhones. The actual scene right now is pretty dim, but the phone camera lights up the scene pretty well. It does really good in low light. Of course, we're not going to have very many more weeks where we'll be able to do this. Even if the train's running on time in the future, it will be in total darkness in just a couple of weeks. So the train's still about 20 minutes late or so, and we still have light. We'll enjoy it as long as we can. Locomotive 140 on the front of the train. As I said earlier, there are 3 engines on tonight's train. I believe there is a shortened consist from the summertime, though. I think they dropped the 3rd coach. There's only 2 coaches now, but we'll see. Rail cam, rail fanner, and more. Is this train 5 or 6? This is train 5. Westbound train. The eastbound Zephyr is number 6. That's the eastbound train. Westbound is 5. Good way to remember is that trains, at least in North America, even numbered trains are going north and east, north or east. Odd numbered trains are going either south or west. So it's a good way to remember. So this is a westbound train, so it is train 5. Now it's kind of interesting that Amtrak actually has a P42 locomotive numbered 5, and I've actually seen it on train 5. Engine 5 on train 5. And I've also seen it on train 6. It makes it a little confusing because you're addressing the dispatcher is addressing Amtrak 5, but the train is actually 6. So it's a little confusing. But yes, to answer your question, this is train 5. Okay, that's the warning whistle. Everybody that got off for the fresh air stop, that means it's time to get on board. A lot of times the conductors will also do a verbal all aboard further down the train. And our platform lights just came on. Kind of a nice, interesting image this makes. Sundown, you got the lights shining along the train.
Amtrak 5, good workers, good paper, active PTC, ready when you are, and do you agree we're clear limits of 730-73, all by PTC is humble over. Aye. Green 1918, keep it up. Alright, I'm all secure in the rear. Number 5, we can highball, so initiating, moving over. Amtrak 5 westbound down 1, departing Ottumwa, issuing movement, advanced approach, to I-80, stand by for runner. Yeah, approach. 1, 2, 1.
So along the transition sleeper, we had 2 sleeping cars, dining car, lounge car, and 2 coaches at the end of the train. Now, I believe the engineer called the signal, which I'll go ahead and move the camera just a little bit so we can see him knock down that signal. I believe he called that an advance approach. And yes, Mark just asked, did I see a wave from the cab? Yes, you did. The engineer did a couple of toots on the horn and waved. So I waved to him. Always nice to see some sort of acknowledgement from the engineer to the camera. Excuse me. And we'll watch the train knock down that yellow over green aspect. The next set of signals, or maybe the second set of signals, will be the crossover at 2833, I think was the control point number. Watch them knock it down here. There it goes. And they're going to clear up their warrant from getting on CTC trackage just east of the station. Probably giving the dispatcher their times at the station as well. So that freight train that we are going to be waiting on, they're waiting for Amtrak at 2833, which is about 3 miles west of here. So it won't take very long for Amtrak to get there and for the freight train to get here. So we are obviously going to keep things rolling for that train. It sounds like it's going to be another good one. So.
They give us 729-91 to the Amtrak 140 West. Said check box 2, proceed help into 3569 on 1. Over. You just say 140 West, that Amtrak rate. Over.
Yep, so it sounds like they're going to switch Amtrak over to Main 2, and then they're going to switch Amtrak back over to Main 1 at Halpin. And I'm not sure, but I didn't quite hear the milepost number, but they...
Amtrak 5, diversion clear, CP 2833.
Yep, just diverging clear at 2833. So that crossover might be just west of town, if they can already see that signal.
730-73 display for release, over.
Amtrak 140 West reports clear the limits of track warrant number 730-73. 2502 limits report clear at 1923-1923.
Understand AMTK 140 West reporting clear on track warrant 730-73 between TTC CP 2502 and TTC Ottumwa at 1923-1923. Is that correct, over?
After briefing, conductor and engineer both agree that's correct. Over.
Alright, both conductor and engineer agree correct, right, thank you. And what are your times, over?
Times for that for Amtrak 5 are 12 and 18. Over.
12 and 18, okay. Roger that, thank you. Should be asked before.
That was a good stop. And they're only in the station for 6 minutes. Okay, so with the light fading, we are going to go ahead and walk underneath the station canopies for our next train, which will be the local. It's hard to really visualize. You can see the signals way down there in the distance, but we can actually see for about at least a mile, maybe further. So it's hard to really visualize that you can actually see that far. But yeah, that crossover is not very far down the tracks. So it won't take very long for that freight train to get here. And I heard the dispatcher say that there was no work for that train in Ottumwa. So I wonder if they're going to let him just run on Main 1. And if so, we might get a really good picture of him. So we're going to go ahead and move the camera down underneath the station canopies. So we've got some decent light for our next train. The signal going east on Main 2 is still red, so I wonder if they're going to leave the train on Main 1. We'll find out. Oh, lovely. Not again. I bet you guys know what I'm talking about. If you guys saw the last stream, the bugs are still out. Lovely. I got bit up pretty good last time. But what can you do? Didn't think to bring any bug spray. Oh well. We're going to go down probably about... yeah, one more. This is pretty good right here. And, my apologies for the brief tripod setup here. Try and make it pretty smooth. There we go. All right. We'll adjust the camera here, get it level. Here we are. Ah, buzz off. So I landed on my glasses. They're like little moths or something. Yeah, we'll pan the camera up there here in a second. So I'm going to, yeah, Joe M. Welcome. He says, bring on the first freeze. I'm tired of the bugs too. Yeah. Well, they really haven't been, I mean, I don't think they've been that bad this year, but of course, when it's nighttime and you've got lights, I mean, they just love the lights. Okay, now I'm going to go to the edge of the platform and see if I can see the signal to the east for Main 1 traffic and see if it is what I think it is, and that they're going to run the train through on Main 1. That is an affirmative. They have a diverging clear eastbound, so they're going to cross them over at the crossover east of the station. So we're going to get a pretty good view of that train coming through. They're going to be right here, and they're probably going to be cruising, they're probably going to be cruising at a pretty decent clip through the station and through the crossover, because that new crossover is good for faster speeds, probably at least 30, 35 miles an hour, as opposed to the crossover down at the Diamond, which is only good for like 10 miles an hour. So, and after that, I don't know if there's any other trains stacked up. There may not be, but this train is, you know, almost better than two trains. I mean, you've got an SD40-2 leading the train. It's the same one that we saw a couple weeks ago, from what I heard, BNSF 1775. So that in itself will be neat to see. So if we don't get any more trains, I mean, we've got Amtrak. It was a pretty good look, pretty good vantage point. And this upcoming train, if that's all we get, it's still going to be a good night. We're getting into the best time of year. And I'm going to try and keep doing these throughout the year, year round. We're going to try and go through the winter, see how it goes. And, excuse me. It's kind of a neat view of the water plant with the moon over the top of it. David asks, when does Amtrak arrive? Well, Amtrak just left, so go ahead and back up the stream about 10-15 minutes, and you'll get to see the whole arrival and departure. And Mark asks, how much further west of the diverging diamond is the river bridge for BNSF and Amtrak? It's not very far. I like to say it's maybe less than 5 miles west of town, if that. Now, several years ago, I think it was 2018. Yeah, A-Train confirms, about 4 miles. So yeah, that's what I thought. I think that's actually the name of the bridge. Is that right? I think it's like 4 Mile Bridge or something like that, because it's 4 miles west of Ottumwa. I think that's right. I think it was 2018. I was coming back from California to do my first round of filming for my California Zephyr documentary, which I will end up making here eventually. Have all the footage for it. But I first started taking footage for it way back in 2018, believe it or not. And I had just gotten back to Ottumwa on the Zephyr. We were running pretty well on time. And I'd like to say maybe an hour and a half after I got off the train, after Amtrak got in and left, there was a derailment on the 4 Mile Bridge west of town. It was a coal train, and it derailed. And some of the cars went off the side of the bridge, and it was bad. And it was kind of scary, because it's like, man, how did that happen? Was it a broken rail? Was it some defect on the tracks, or what was it? And you kind of thought, well, man, if Amtrak had been, behind that freight, or if it was any later, or if their situation had been any different, it could have been Amtrak that went off the bridge. But I think it was actually, I don't remember what the determination was. I think it might have been a hot box or something. So it was a problem with the freight train itself and not the track. But yeah, that was kind of spooky. That, we pretty much, got here 90 minutes ahead of a crash. And imagine if Amtrak had been behind that. Well, we wouldn't have got here, because both tracks were fouled by the derailment. And that would have been kind of discouraging, that I'm literally 4 miles away from Ottumwa and I couldn't get here because a train wrecked in front of me. But yeah, that was in 2018 when that happened. Now, the next year I came back on Amtrak after I got all of my trackside footage of the Zephyr west from here to California for a westbound train. The documentary I'm making is going to be of a westbound Zephyr. I came back going east on the Zephyr, and there was a lot of flooding, and we had to go around all the flooding around Omaha and the Missouri River there in the Nebraska state line. And it took hours, and we were delayed many hours. And by the time we got to Melrose, our crew had reached their hours of service. So the crew from here had to be vanned all the way from Ottumwa to Melrose to bring the train on into Ottumwa. By the time we actually got to Ottumwa, the train was, I like to say it was like 9 hours late. I think we got here at like 6 p.m. instead of, the scheduled time, which would have been 9 a.m. That was an interesting ride. Now, if you're a rail fan, more time on the train, you kind of get your money's worth. But if you're a passenger, and even sometimes as a rail fan, if you're on a delayed train, especially if your train is sitting around and not going for hours, you can get kind of antsy. So even though I enjoyed the trip, and it was a good trip besides that, I was glad to get back to a town and get off the train. Now, speaking of which, we have our westbound freight approaching now. And this is going to be a pretty good view, because it is going to go right by us on this track. So it's going to be a very nice scene. And this, folks, will probably be our last train of the night, as we are approaching an hour being on, and I don't know if there are any other trains in the area besides this one. So this probably will be our final train of the night. But this is going to be a good one. This is eastbound freight 664 with, I am pretty sure, an SD40-2 in the lead. So this is going to be cool. It's going to go right past us here on Main 1. So here we go. Oh yeah, bugs to the face. That was worth it. That was a pretty good shot of the eastbound BNSF local freight train from Cargill and Eddyville, train 664, with SD40-2 on the point. Can't get any better than that. Pretty cool. So that train is crossing over down there, going from main 1 to 2 and continuing its eastbound trip. They don't have any work in Ottumwa, so it's just going to be a straight shot, probably on to Burlington, before they have to stop again. Now, that train runs from Eddyville to Galesburg, and its counterpart, 663, runs from Galesburg to Eddyville. Yeah, A-Train says it's interesting seeing an SD40-2 leading a GEVO. And I've actually seen that quite a few times through here. And there was one time years ago, which I'm pretty sure I have this video up on my YouTube channel. There was a CSX SD40-2 in front of a Tier 4 GEVO leading an eastbound BNSF mixed freight. I think it might have been the Lingale mixed freight. Or no, actually it was the Des Moines train, if I remember right. And that was a really interesting lash up. You don't see SD40-2s much anymore, even on local trains. So it's really cool to see one out on the main line when you can. Okay, everybody, we are getting close to. Man, it's only 7:30, but it's dark, and I don't know if there are any other trains in the area. Now the signals to our east and west are both out now, so that's a pretty good indicator that there are no other trains. Excuse me, in the area. Hope to get over this cough pretty soon. And like I said, I'm kind of recovering from a cold, so excuse me. These bugs don't make it any better though. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for the night, and it's pretty close to where we usually wrap things up. We're almost to the hour mark. It's usually where I like to keep these live streams, an hour 15, somewhere around there. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for the night. Now, we're going to try this again next week. That's October. We'll be in October, believe it or not, in our next stream, which will be October 4th. So we're going to shoot for that, and we're going to keep these things going even through the wintertime. I'm going to give it a try, and so you'll be able to see the situation down here when it's nighttime, when it's dark all the time. And hopefully we'll get to see some winter weather as well, some snowfall and, other things in the future. And I also have some other big video projects that I'm working on. Obviously, the Old Threshers video will be my next upload, my video upload. Working on that video, still in the very early stages, but that'll be the next video. Hopefully I'll get it released within the next month or so. And then after that, we'll have to see. I have a lot of other projects in the works that I hope to upload in the foreseeable future. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for the evening. It was a good night. We got to see, excuse me, we got to see Amtrak as well as an eastbound BNSF local freight with an SD40-2 on the front. So it's pretty good lineup. Now, A-Train mentioned, we'll talk about this really briefly and then we'll wrap things up. The Southeast Iowa Depot Tour, if you can, go ahead and Google that. Basically, it's a depot tour. You can go around. There's a bunch of small, old railroad depots in Southeast Iowa that are open, that have open houses. So you can drive around and just kind of get in the depots and take a look at them. And some of the museums that are attached to them are open as well. Eldon, I believe, is one of them. They have a very nice museum in the old Rock Island Depot down there. The two depots at the Old Threshers grounds will also be open. The Yarmouth Depot for Midwest Electric and then the Hillsboro Depot for the Midwest Central Railroad will be open. There's several other depots participating in that tour. So look it up, Southeast Iowa Depot Tour. And that is coming up next weekend. So if anybody is able to go to those, I'm going to have a pretty full plate next weekend. So the live stream might be the only train thing that I'll be able to do next weekend. So tentatively, we'll shoot for next Saturday. If not, I'll let you guys know, and then it'll be the weekend after that. But at any rate, we've reached the end of tonight's live stream. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I certainly have enjoyed bringing this action to you for wherever you are watching this evening. So, again, we'll shoot for next weekend for another stream down here in Ottumwa. Until then, this is Bobby Harvey. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all, hopefully, next week. Thanks for watching, everybody. So long.